Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rarely Typical. My name is Sherry Langan, and I am hosting this podcast because I want to talk about a life that is rarely typical. And today I have a special guest with me. I'm so excited that you guys are getting new voices and new faces this season. I have my friend Jordan here with me, and we are going to chat about what life looks like when you are a caregiver to a child with a chronic illness. You will see other faces on here, and a lot of my friends actually have chronic illnesses and are parenting children without chronic illnesses. And I do think that there's this beautiful story and intricacy of the flip side. And I think often we overlook as patients the people who are parenting without chronic illnesses. And we're only thinking about the parents who also have a chronic illness and also are parenting. So I think this is going to be a little different than what you're used to. You will also see one of my other friends talking about the flip side. But today I have my friend Jordan here. And if you have not been around on my Instagram, then you don't recognize her. But if you are on my Instagram, you do know that I spend a lot of time with Jordan. Her and her family are very dear to us, and we have valued this friendship. If you listen to episode 1 of this season, you heard letters from all of my friends, and Jordan was one of those letters. Hey, Jordan.
Hi.
I was so excited that you could be here, even though I just saw you yesterday.
Like less than 12 hours ago.
Yeah, we are really obsessed with each other. We spend a lot of time together. We are going to dive into some really hard stuff, but it can also be positive. And I think that we are often so burdened by chronic illness that we forget how life can still be sweet. And in my podcast episode that I recorded yesterday, I talked about how people are often so negative when it comes to chronic illness. And that's just not always the case. It definitely comes with both positive and negative. And so I want to cover both of those things today. So, Jordan.
Yes.
Your daughter has a chronic illness.
Yes. My daughter just turned 6 and she was diagnosed with Marfan syndrome when she was just under a year and a half. So we're navigating that. It's a very interesting diagnosis because it is a dominant trait genetic illness, which would mean that myself or my husband would have to have it in order for her to have it. And neither of us have it. So she's considered a de novo, which is like another subset of rarity within her already rare condition. So to say it like took us off guard is like the biggest understatement of the world. Like when we brought her in, it started with, they heard a murmur and she was like 9 months old. And typically when you hear a murmur on a child and they're under a year old, it's considered a pathologic finding. It's not physiologic. And so they sent us to cardiology, and this is all during COVID, which was another layer of difficult because they wouldn't let us both go. That was wild. I eventually, once we found out that there was legitimately something going on, I was like, this is inappropriate for my husband to not be in these doctor's appointments with us and hearing the things that I'm hearing. And thank goodness our doctors were amazing and they let me record everything that they were saying because I was just like, this is a lot. I thought we were just going to be, oh, it's an innocent murmur. No big deal. We'll follow you for a year or two and then it will be fine. And that just didn't end up being our story. And so to not have my spouse there with me, finding this out while I'm bouncing a baby and trying to feed during appointments and all of that. And then he always drove over with us, but then we'd be in the hospital for an hour and a half, getting testing, doing all those things. And like walking out and getting in the car, he'd be like, how'd it go? And I'm like, I have no word. Just because it was like putting your mouth up to a fire hydrant. Like you're getting all this information while you're like actively caring. Oh, y'all, I knew I was going to cry because I don't talk about this a lot. So just bear with me. But just momming in the middle of it to a baby was a lot. And then walking out and feeling this pressure of, okay, now I need to let her dad know everything they just said. And I was I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So that was just another level of getting to a place with this of just, I think that made us take longer to digest and figure it out. I'm so thankful for early diagnosis. And I see that as a level of God's grace on us because like, God knew that I would be like this, emotional and just having a hard time dealing with it. And so he was so graceful in letting me find out early enough that I could still hide my tears for my baby and stuff. And now she's getting older and we're processing and swallowing and moving into this next phase of the diagnosis. And she's learning more and more about herself and alongside her brother, which is just a whole nother explaining all of that. And then we have family really close and they have cousins that are the same age as them. And we're explaining to all of them and having those conversations of what's going on, why she takes medicine every day. Like we went to her visit yesterday, just normal, whatever. And my sweet nephew was like, wait, what is she having done? Are they looking at her heart today? And I was like, no, buddy, this is just her normal. She just had a birthday. We're just going to check her out. No big deal. And he was like, okay. But you don't realize how much your heart affects other people
Yeah.
in your circle. And it's refreshing having those moments of, oh, you're thinking about her and you're processing this too. Like, I'm not in this world of processing alone, even though with the invisibility of chronic illness, it does feel that way a lot. Like, it totally feels like I'm the only one thinking about this
Yeah.
all the time. And so it's nice to have moments like that where you're like, oh, other people, they do see us. It's just, it's different for them.
Yeah. It's got to be so hard to go into an exam room and not realize that like you were going to get a diagnosis because you and your husband are both healthy.
Yeah.
Healthy, normal, functioning people.
And she was too, for all visualization of her. Like she
Yeah.
was hitting milestones. She's my climber. She climbs everything. If she is not sitting on my kitchen counter, I'm shocked. I'm like, where is she? What is happening? And she is just so active. And so it was super shocking to just be told, actually, no. And there are some really dangerous parts of this that we need to address. And you're going to be putting your infant on blood pressure medication. Like, I'm not even on blood pressure medication. My husband's not on blood pressure medication. I have always had actually really low blood pressure. She's not on blood pressure medication because of her blood pressure. It's another mechanism. But that was really hard. The first time giving your kid a blood pressure medication, you're just like, I don't know how this feels. I don't know how you feel. I don't know. It was really stressful. You just don't ever anticipate giving your infant blood pressure medication. And there's all these tiny hurdles to go over, and it's constant. Like they're constantly coming. And I'm in the role right now where I'm hitting the hurdles. I'm the one taking them. And then as I take them, she's behind me and I'm to her. Hey, okay, so this is what's happening and we're going to navigate this and this is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to be here the whole time. And you can sit in my lap, you can hold my hand, you can however you want to do. We always have loveys with us. We always have blankies with us. I always try to be prepared with anything that she might need to be comfortable in whatever situation we're in, especially in the doctor's office, but even outside. I feel like my husband and I are the shield right now, and we're navigating it as well. So it's a very like touch and go situation.
It's so complicated because I know what I need, right? And I'm able to self-sufficiently do all of the things that I need mostly without needing help. But our kids are at the age where they still want us to check their butts when we wipe their butt.
Yeah.
It's got to be so complicated. I know you and I have talked about it. It's got to be so complicated taking a child at their word at this age, and also understanding that what they're saying is only a small amount of what they actually probably need.
And it's what 2-year-olds can tell you. Oh, I'm feeling dizzy. Oh, I'm feeling nauseous. Oh, my head hurts. And there's been a few times where like chest pain is a dar situation for us. And there have been times where she has said, my chest hurts or my heart hurts. And then oh, okay, hold on. Let me take a minute here. Let's talk about it. And then I have to ask 1,000,001 questions and try to figure out, are we going to the ER right now? Is that what we're doing right now? Or she just had some eye issues.
Because Marfan's affects eyes and heart.
Yes. So it's a connective tissue disorder that affects the entire body. And the eyes are a big one. And she wears glasses, but we're worried about a subluxation of her lens, which your lens is held in place by ligaments and tendons and I think just ligaments. But so hers are more stretchy. And so she could bump into something and her lens could just flip. And we're always on edge about that.
Yeah.
But she was having some complaints of, so funny. She described it as thumping. And I was like,
In her eye.
yep. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that
I
means.
don't know what that means either.
Yeah. So the only thing I could think is maybe like a heart pulse. I don't know. So anyway, we went down this really long road she ended up getting dilated 3 times. We did end up in the ER once for it, because how would I feel as a mom if my kid ends up blind in one eye because I was negligent?
Yes.
Or I was just like, I'm sure it's fine. I feel that part of parenting is no longer an option.
It's so hard, right? Because I have healthy kids and I'm not healthy. But when the boys bump their foot, like this morning, one of the boys like had a scratch on his foot and he was convinced that it was bleeding, and it was not bleeding. And I tried to explain it was just a scrape and it wasn't really like a cut. And the explanation of cut versus scrape did not make sense. And so is it blurry or are you going blind? I cannot fathom trying to have that conversation with a child and it being so important. Like, does your heart hurt or are you going blind? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. She's actually really good at describing things now, but she just turned 6. Like we're talking a couple of days ago, and her vocabulary is growing so much. She's experiencing more in the world. She knows what things feel like and don't feel like. But my husband and I just have a heightened sense of awareness of, okay, when she falls, I prefer to parent in I'm going to stay quiet and see how you react. And you can tell, you know how your kid screams, you know how your kid reacts, you know when it really hurts. She took a pretty gnarly spill the other day on our driveway and she got a pretty sizable scrape and she hit her elbow hard. And I was just waiting for her to come up and it just be all mangled and whatever. And that would have been an easier tell, but aches and pains and all of that, it's just, I feel like I don't have the liberty of being like, let's just wait and see. Or I'm sure it's fine. We'll just brush it off for now and then reassess. That part for her is taken from us. But at the same time, I don't want to make her like a hypochondriac. I want to be very careful about how she sees pain and injury, because we were trying to instill in her a sense of emergency, not emergency.
Yeah.
Because she's gonna, at 6.
When she has a brother who is healthy.
Correct.
Which also makes both parenting both a child with a chronic illness and a child without a chronic illness at the same time.
Yes.
Essentially the same age.
Yes. They're 19 months apart. So they're very close in age. And we just try to describe everything on their level. It's like, why does she take medication? And I'm like, her heart works differently than yours and it needs a little bit of extra help. And this medication helps her heart work better. And then we wait and we see what's their next question. What are they thinking? What do they need us to navigate them on? And I think it's such a cohesive relationship. Like we can't just pour the information onto them because they can't process all of that. And we don't want to instill fear, but we want to instill knowledge, right? I want her to understand her condition, but I don't want her to live in this world where she feels defined by it. And we live in a really small town, y'all. And so we're very hyper aware of not putting too much of her information out there because I don't want people thinking that they get that connection to her without her fully understanding it yet herself. And so she does phenomenal. She knows that she has a condition. And I'll tell you, she forgets the name of it all the time. And we keep telling her. But as of right now, I feel like Jared and I are her shields and her advocates. And as far as she started school this past year, so I set up a meeting with the administration, her teachers, and we talked about it. And markin.org actually has a really awesome resource on there of printouts that you can have for the school nurse, for the teachers. And we printed those out. We brought those in. We encouraged the people that were in direct contact with her to just look it over. And we made it very clear, please ask us any questions that you have. We're learning as we go too. We're happy to answer anything that we know. If we don't know, we also message our cardiologist and he's great. He gets back to us pretty quickly. And we're definitely in that phase. And it's slowly starting to change where we're slowly starting to, she's going to have to start taking more of an active role in it. I think we still have a few years, but she's going to do great. We have faith in her. She is fearless.
It's so complicated because we're already still figuring out how to be parents, right?
Yeah.
We don't know if what we're doing is going to make normal, productive adults or if we're totally messing them up at this age, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's already hard enough to be a parent, and it's already hard enough for me with a chronic illness to learn as I'm going. But I couldn't imagine learning to teach somebody else how they are feeling when it's not me feeling it.
Yeah.
And then to also be still trying to make them normal functioning adults one day.
Yeah.
Ideally. And also at some point they will be teenagers. And we talk about it all the time, but I'm not ready for teenagers anyway. But a teenager that also needs to be conscious of all of these things when like they're the least conscious types of people.
And I think we all went through that phase of life where you just feel invincible. And it's that invincibility that she doesn't have. And we have to talk about that. And we have to encourage good choices. That's one of the things I like to say to my kids. I'm just like, make good choices. But yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. So what has been both the hardest part of this journey and what has been the most gratifying part of your journey?
The hardest part is definitely feeling so helpless.
Yeah.
And like, I can't fix it. And that sucks.
Right.
That just sucks. I can't put a Band-Aid on it. And I can't, being that like the irony of it being a dominant genetic disorder.
Yes.
And then neither one of us having it. And I just feel like we're swimming in this sea where like we're drowning and like finding out what it is and what's going on and just feeling guilty. Mom guilt is real. The second that you have a baby, it's like you feel it. In the hospital, I distinctly remember after having my first, just feeling guilty that I didn't know the answer to why they were crying. Like, why? I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, I have to figure this out. I have to figure out how to fix this. And I can't fix this. And that's really hard to swallow. And having those feelings of, did I cause this? Did I do something in pregnancy? Did I eat the wrong things? Did I not have enough protein? The rabbit holes that my brain has gone down is like, they just go and go forever. And you, as a parent, you want to make it your problem and it's not my problem. And it is my problem on a different level, but it's not directly my issue. And so that's the hardest part. I feel helpless in so many ways.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't fix it.
But it's not your fault. There's nothing that you could have done that would have fixed.
So they say, but as a mom, it will always
absolutely
be my fault.
Yeah.
And I know that on some level, but also on a deeper level, like it will always be my fault.
What has been the most gratifying part?
I think that when people receive diagnoses, you definitely go into this is the end of the world mentality. There's moments of that. Grief is cyclical. There's nothing linear about grief. You go into denial, anger, all of that. And it's really hard to find your ways out of it. So you go into this end of the world mentality and then turn my head and there's this beautiful baby. And she proves to us time and time again that life can be as good as we thought it was going to be. You have this vision when you're building your family of what you're going to do together, the things you're going to do, how you're going to live life. And my husband and I are adventure seekers. We love living a full life. We love skiing, snowboarding, water skiing, wake surfing, like going to the beach, surfing out there, going on hikes. Travel is our love language. And so when we received diagnosis, I think it was you have this idea, you can't do any of the things that you thought that you could do. And she has just obliterated that idea. We went on a trip to Costa Rica and that girl hiked up this 300-foot swinging bridge like it was nothing. And it was wild. She dives to the bottom of a 9-foot pool and is like, again, let's go again. She has snow skied. And that was a really big dream of my husband and I's. It was like family ski trips. And she has been on them and she does great. There's caveats that go with it. We have to study the elevation of where we're going. There's like those boost oxygen tanks that we will probably need to use if we go much higher than we've been. And we're just aware of more of that stuff. But she does great. And we're very thankful. She is very much a self-regulator. So she doesn't like to sweat. She doesn't like to feel icky. It's so funny because I was the opposite. But she is very much, I need a break. I'm going to just take a break. And I'm so thankful for that part of her spirit. And it really helps Jared and I feel a little more peace just because we know, okay, she's going to tell us. And she does. And hopefully that will continue.
Yeah.
And so that we can still feel comfortable doing all of these things with her. But I think that she has just framed us back into believing that we could have the family life that we envisioned, that we definitely have had moments of that's gone. We can't do that. Now we're just confined to this space so that we're near doctors, and that's just not the reality that we thought we were facing. It's been really beautiful watching her in this space and just killing it.
Yeah. She's going to know so much about her body and how it functions and how it feels. And those are things that honestly, everybody probably wishes that they knew.
Yeah.
And you don't ever know unless you are diagnosed with a chronic illness. I feel like I'm so in tune with what's going on in my body and like any ache or pain, I'm aware. And she's going to grow up having known all of that long before anybody else ever does.
Yeah.
So it'll be really cool to be a teenager that knows her body.
Yeah.
Knows her limits, because especially in our 20s, we didn't know our limits.
We know.
Honestly, I was really hard on my body, which probably is why I'm where I'm at right now. But it'll be really great to see her be like a young adult that like knows her body well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll be interesting. It'll be different. But I think she's gonna be perfectly normal.
Yeah.
for the most part, like as normal looks at this stage.
Yeah. I think with it's a progressive situation, much like you. And we'll see. There's a really good chance, very likely, that we'll end up with surgery, and that'll be a whole another ball game to go down and then navigating that. But for right now, our doctors have been really great and just being like, let her be 6. Let her do the things. She's not in a age bracket that she's going to really do anything that can super, super harm her. And that part of that is coming for us. She won't be able to partake in competitive sports and she can't have sustained cardiac work. So she can't do practice every single day. That's not an option. It has to be a very controlled physical environment. And so for right now, it's fun to live in that world of, hey, with these sports, you can do whatever, which most of them she's, no, I'm going to get sweaty. I don't want to do that.
It's totally fair.
Which is also it's nice for her to just be like, better not. I don't want to do that.
It will be interesting to see what the rest of your journey looks like. But I think that because of our friendship and like how you guys have always pushed me to be beyond what my illness is that like you are doing it with me and it in turn turns and she will also get that from you guys.
Yeah.
And so I think it will be very positive for her to be surrounded by family and people that will remind her that she's a lot more than just that disease.
Yes. And I think that's something that I really value about our friendship is that you get to be at some point that person in her life that's showing her you can do hard things. Like just because somebody slaps some words on your story doesn't mean that you are incapable and you have a purpose and your story is beautiful, although different than maybe what you would have hoped it would be. And so we just hope to help her find that positivity in her story of, hey, dude, this isn't what we thought was going to be your story, but there's some really cool stuff that has come from this. And you get to determine how that shapes you going forward, not those words and not that diagnosis. It'll be cool to see how she is in her 20s.
How they all are in their 20s.
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. So this has been a great conversation. Final words. What would you tell somebody whose child is now getting a diagnosis? What words of encouragement would you give them for what they're stepping into?
So soon after we received the diagnosis, my husband definitely handled it different than I did. I took a very emotional response. It was painful, for lack of a better word. He took more of the logic route and just research. And I was like, I can't even look at the word Marfan right now without crying. So no. And so he really dove in and he found these podcasts. And there was one that I'll never forget. And we watched it. And the woman on there, I think her child was a de novo also. I don't think either her or her husband had it. But what she said in there, she was like, I grieved for a full year. And that right there gave me the ability to let myself feel it and really sit in it and not feel guilty about it. And it took me longer than a year. So if it takes you longer than a year. And like I said before, like grieving is not linear. With all of these hurdles that we hit, there's another level of grief that we hit as well. Because it's all realizations of, oh, this is different for us because, or even in everyday conversation with other moms, listening to them talk about things that their kid can do. And my kid can't do that. And a lot of times those conversations are like, no big deal. It's fine. But then some days it hits harder. And letting yourself be okay in those moments to acknowledge, I'm allowed to feel this. I'm allowed to feel that this is hard. And it is hard. And so give yourself that space of acknowledging the grief. And I won't say sitting in it, because I do think that there is so much power in finding your way out of it. But if you need to sit in it for a couple of days or one day or a couple hours and then deep breath, exhale. But I think that hearing that podcast and hearing her say that she grieved for a full year really gave me the opportunity to feel like I wasn't being dramatic.
Yeah.
Because you worry, I don't know, that's something big for me is, oh, am I overreacting? Literally, first off, we got the diagnosis via phone call in the middle of the day. I was feeding my kids lunch and they were little. It was right before lunchtime. I answered the call thinking that it was a billing question because genetic testing is just a terrible void of awfulness in the medical field. And so they were like, yeah, billing can be challenging. We'll probably be reaching out. And they were reaching out, and I thought it was because of billing, but it was the diagnosis. And I just like tunnel vision, everything just went black. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, just a phone call, not diagnosis.
And it wasn't even our doctor, it was a genetic counselor. And I was like, this feels like an inappropriate diagnosis situation. Nonetheless, we're past it. But in that moment, I'm just like, okay, this is not great. So I step outside and I call my husband and he's at work and I actually got a hold of him, which was crazy. And I'm like, hey, so they just called and I got the diagnosis. And he was like, okay. And I told him, and through sobbing breath, he was like, I'm coming home. And I was like, no, you don't need to come home. What are you going to do? There's nothing we can do. And he's like, I have to be home. And that was totally just me being like, don't be dramatic. There's nothing in this moment that we can do. And I think and thank God he came home. I don't know what I would have done, just the two toddlers the rest of the day. Just what is happening? But just acknowledging the heart of this and allowing yourself to acknowledge the heart of receiving a diagnosis for your child. That feeling is just intensely painful. And the other thing that I got from a podcast was somebody said, and I know you hear this all the time, but your child is going to grow with this, right? It's going to be developmental over time, how they approach this and how they learn about it. And you yourself as a parent, you need to be ahead of that. And so taking care of yourself so that you can field those questions is something that like really stuck with both my husband and I, just being aware of all of the little things that can happen within it to the best of your ability. And sometimes your answer to your child might be, that's a great question. Let's ask your doctor. And that's fair too. We're learning together, but just getting yourself in the best headspace that you can so that when they have their moments of emotional reaction, you're able to comfort them in a way that meets them where they are. Because you're going to have to be that person for them. Like they can't go to a friend because their friends aren't having the same situation or the same conversations or just not in their wheelhouse. So I think just being prepared to meet them where they are and letting them, I think this is going to come with a lot of frustrations and a lot of just emotional recourse and letting them feel that. And then also being the voice in their head that says, I've got you. We've got this. This is a team approach. And we call it our family approach. And we plan on bringing our other child with us to one of these appointments now that they're getting older, just so that they can ask the questions if they have questions or if they just want to see what happens. We disappear for a whole day for testing. We're taking her out of school now to do that. And he is aware that's happening. And I want him to feel as much a part of this journey as she is, because siblings, you're each other's support too, right? If something, when Jared and I go, hopefully they have this bond that will keep them together. And if he knows about it, then he can help her in ways that Jared and I can't. Like they are only 19 months apart. So they're going to be going through a lot of milestones very close together. And there could very well be things in her 20s if she's in college and it's just, dude,
Yeah.
this was my situation. This is what I did. This is how I'm feeling. This is whatever. I think that there's such value in her having a peer that's also a sibling and that has this intense love for her as her next level of support behind Jared and I. So I think that there's a lot of beauty in that as well. And taking the family approach to it has worked well for us. And we're just trying to like knit ourselves together.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No,
Definitely not easy.
yeah.
You have been so vulnerable with me and now everybody. Honestly, it is such a refreshing thing to see somebody that has feelings because I don't have a lot of them. So I get it. I know that diagnosis and dealing with all of it comes with a lot of like feelings. And so it is very, I think it's empowering to see somebody that can be in their feelings about stuff like that because it's not something that it's not how I operate, but it also is probably a defense mechanism anyway that I don't. So
100%.
our friendship is based off of Jordan crying most of the time, which is fine. No, it's not. But our friendship, we complement each other really well. And so I do think it's beautiful that you're able to talk about it. And then even though you're crying, you're able to talk through it because if I start crying, I can't talk at all. So I'm done. Thanks for being here and thanks for sharing your story and
Thanks for
all of
having
your insight.
me.
If you guys like this podcast, like and comment and subscribe. And I promise that there are some really great conversations coming. Thanks to Jordan for being here today. And thanks for you guys for listening.